Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another episode of The Show, Trek Wednesday. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We have a very different format for this show tonight. We're going to take a bit more of a humanistic and personal approach to the people in the gaming, both the creators as well as the players. We're still going to dive into some of the mechanics and different discussions that we've been piling up and compiling for the last couple of weeks, but we're going to take a more humanistic look at this here. I'm joined tonight by our Chief Logistics Officer, Captain Timberwolf. Lead us off with a good howl, sir. Oh! Our Chief Intelligence Officer, Captain Sarcasm Detector.
Greetings.
Uh-oh, that's some grumbly grumble right there.
No, that actually sounds perfectly normal.
Really? Because that's a little bit grumbly for him. Anyway, our Chief Science Officer, Captain Snipey, 47 Alpha.
Hello, and I've got my popcorn ready based on Cam's grumble.
Oh boy. Our Chief of Cheesy Tactics, Captain SOB.
Hello.
Yeah, how do you feel about your cheese not being so cheesy anymore?
Oh, I've got more cheese.
You always do. You know what? Well, we have our Chief Ironic Medic, Captain MK.
Woohoo!
He's here. He's there.
I am here, and I am ready for battle.
Computer, activate the emergency RP hologram.
Please state the nature of your immersion emergency.
And I am the Chief Strategic Operations Officer, Captain Marshall. Let's get straight into the show here. Sarcasm Detector, lead us in, please.
All right. So, here on the show, we take pride in the fact that we have honest and open discussions on the topic of Star Trek Online. As you can tell from the lineup of the show's host, we try to include as many different viewpoints from across the community spectrum. Here on the show, you will hear opinions from role players to ultra min-max DPSers, and pretty much everything in between. We also take feedback very seriously, whether it comes from other players or from the game developers. Recently, we've heard from multiple sources that the guys at Cryptic are very upset with us. They've described us as ranters, said that we've used personal attacks, that we were overly critical when talking about the patch notes during last week's show. So I've gone back and listened to last week's show, specifically the part where we discussed the patch notes, the parts where we were supposedly overly critical. Let's break it down. Initially, we talked about the 24 hours of bliss, where after the patch on Thursday, we had a day of minimal lag, until the following patch on Friday, when all the lag came roaring back. If you're a regular listener to the show, you would know that the lag issues plaguing this game is a real sore spot for us. If Cryptic wants us to stop talking about the lag, then they had better get to fixing it once and for all. Also, if a patch drops, which increases the lag on the server, you bet that we'll be talking about it again. After that, we dove into the actual patch notes. We said that we appreciated how detailed the patch notes were. We actually paid you a compliment, Cryptic. If you do something good, we'll laud you. If you mess up, we'll criticize you. That's how we work. Then we talked about the Bug Basher initiative. Here we were generally neutral, leading towards hopeful, positive, optimistic. Following that, we talked about the Tier 6 Andromeda giveaway. This was, in our opinion, and the opinion of many others, very badly handled. We stated our opinions on this matter fairly. The criticism was deserved. At no point was this a rant or a personal attack. Finally, after that, we defended Cryptic against the vitriol that certain members of the community, especially on the forums, tend to direct at the developers. We probably spent more time defending Cryptic here in this part of the show than we did criticizing them in the previous parts.
Leading up to that, I have one other thing to add to it. There may be some people who have been getting hearsay about the show. We understand that. That's based off of people that you trust, you trust their information, they're presenting it to you. Yes, we've been critical at points throughout all of the episodes of the show itself, dealing with Star Trek Online. We've also been praising and appreciative within those same episodes of the show for every episode that's gone through it. Even at the point in time where we had two guests on here who delivered their rant, there were still parts of that where we say, here's where you do good, here's where we want you to continue to do good, and here's where we'd like for you to engage with the community in whatever ways, shapes, and fashions that you can, so we can have a positive gaming experience and that you can make not only a good profit off of your product, but a good quality product that more people can enjoy. Timberwolf and I have had a discussion with two folks on Twitter. One of them, one of the artists, and correct me if I'm wrong for the title there, but I'm not sure of his actual handle for Cryptic. But Thomas, thank you for that discussion. That was very eye-opening as well as informative. And yes, there's been some quote-unquote bad blood between Jesse and myself, which I didn't consider as bad blood, but obviously it's still there and it's still stinging at some point in time. But that's water under the bridge, at least from my perspective. That's there, it's done, let it go, if it won't repeat again. But if it does repeat again, then of course we're going to bring that up as part of the case history, and then the next issue that comes up with it as well, and say, look, here's a trend that's happening. So my words to you, to everybody there pretty much, is you put out a good quality product, or you're trying to make a product that has a lot of inherent flaws better, we'll support you with it. Help us understand what nuances you're dealing with without having to, quote-unquote, give away your trade secrets. And we'll help you with that. Thomas has put in well over 100 hours in fixing a lot of the artwork on there so it can make deadline. Unpaid. That's a man who's passionate about his product. We'd like to be able to enjoy his work, his hard work that he's put in, both paid and unpaid. But also, please appreciate the work that the community is doing for you so that you can still maintain a paycheck in doing this that you are passionate about. Because we're not getting paid. And we're trying to help out as much as we can. But no more are we going to just say, all right, we'll just passively lie down and wait and see what happens here. And, you know, if things, you know, we'll get word eventually, right? I mean, things will eventually get fixed, right? 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 That's
Right.
No. We'll help. I hope the Bug Bashers initiative takes off with a roaring success to finally streamline what is truly a bug from a non-critical issue, from all right, this is something that's dealing with an environment, we'll send it to appropriate teams. This one's dealing with game mechanics, we'll send it to appropriate teams. Something like that.
As relevant to the medic, it's triage, plain and simple.
Exactly. Thank you, Medic. You put out the perfect verbiage for that. So we need something like Bug Bashers here to pick up where everything else had left and fix it. Be a part of that process to fix it. We're willing to support it. But don't say that we're not able to do so, or we don't have the capabilities to do so, or our work is irrelevant. Especially when you are turning to the community to ask for help. That's all. We'll respect you. Please respect us. I'm going to hand it over to Timberwolf now to continue on.
Okay. I like listening to y'all talk. It's fantastic. Concerning our conversations, the past couple of days, I honestly feel like the devs have opened up more with regards to at least me and Oden with our talks than we've ever seen them open up before. Just our conversation with Thomas, we had a better understanding of what he sees from the community. And it stems all the way back to the Facebook groups. He was a big part of all the Facebook groups for Star Trek Online, and he clearly stated the reason he stopped listening to that viewpoint from the community, the groups from the community, is because of how vitriolic it can be, how negative and criticizing it can be. And it's the same problem that plagues them on the forums. And I'm an admin now on the Facebook group. I have been for a few months, and it's something that I see every day. I mean, it's some things I don't understand about this game, some things I'm trying to. But at the same time, talking with Thomas, he's just trying to do his best at his job. He has his limitations just like any other employee at their job does. They have quotas, they have deadlines, and they do the best they can, and Thomas is clearly putting his work in. He's sacrificing his own time that he could be sleeping, he could be with friends, he could be with family, and he's sacrificing that time to work, and I can appreciate that because it's something I have to do in my job field. It's something that others here in this group right now have to do. So I understand that. We were able to fully sit down with him and talk for, I want to say, 3 hours, Oden? On Twitter, talking to this man, getting a better understanding of what's going on. I was even able to ask him some questions related to what he does and get, of course, and I don't mean this pun more than literally, but cryptic answers about what's coming. Now, yeah, it did. Which I understand. You can't release everything. You can't give away everything. But the simple fact that he was willing to take out time from his day to talk with me and Oden, to actually just sit there, talk to us, listen, and for us to have feedback was fantastic. And at the end of the day, he rejoined the Facebook group, as I'm assuming a test to see if the community has changed.
I genuinely hope it has.
And that's what I'm hoping for. I'm trying to make what impact I can. But the simple fact that he was willing to put that kind of an olive branch out and say, hey, I'll rejoin. I might not post anything. I might not say anything. I simply want to see where the community's at now. For me, I think that was a big step for him. Because in his mind, he could be stepping back into the same community that he left. And he's taking a risk. So I can appreciate that. On the other side of that, we were graced by ZeroniusRex. And she did an impromptu stream of the new Butterfly mission. Now, I did a short video of her running Crystalline Catastrophe with us. It was a great run. I did state in the beginning, I will say this, in the beginning of the video, to me, when we were watching her, she did seem like she might have had 1 or 2 alcoholic beverages. I have since talked to her about that. She says she wasn't. I issued my apology to her. So I'm not above reproach if I made a mistake. If I made a mistake on something I said to her, and she calls me out on it, I'll retract it. But the simple fact was, that notwithstanding, is simply that she wasn't at Cryptic Studios or Perfect World Entertainment Studios when she recorded this live stream. She brought us literally into her home, where she lives, and recorded this live stream for us. So she made it a personal note in her off time to bring us into her home and be a part of the community from the standpoint of part of the community. She could have done this from her office. She could have done this, all crisp and clean, and it's the sterile environment of the office, the cubicle. She didn't want that. She wanted a way to connect with the players, and she wanted to just be able to have fun. And quite honestly, I think we all had fun. We all had a great time watching the stream, getting insight on how she felt about the episodes and how the storyline was written. And like I said, at the end, we were lucky enough, we were fortunate enough that me and Oden and a few others were able to do an actual run in the game with her. And it was amazing to see that, to actually be able to be a part of that. So I kind of have a newfound appreciation for what they're dealing with, because they're putting in hours that are above and beyond what they should. And some elements of the community, we are critical here of the mistakes, and I mean, we have a right to be, because we praise them when they're good. We were critical when they're bad. It's what any normal person would do from any aspect. I personally, I'm not gonna just rainbow and sunshine everything and ignore what's going on if I notice something's wrong. I'm gonna ask questions, and I will do it in a respectful fashion, and I want to know what the answers are. I might not understand them, but I would at least like some Q&A, some understanding. But I understand what they see from some of the community as straight vitriolic and the forums. I'll just say it like that, the forums.
Yeah.
So I can understand that. So the simple fact of seeing Thomas taking time out of his busy schedule and Zero taking the time on her time at her home to do what they did, I can appreciate it. And the simple fact that they were willing to simply talk with us, and we were able to smooth out some things that might have been bad blood in the past, to smooth out some things, to set a basis for talking with the community again, I think was a huge step on both sides, because now they're seeing that it's not just players that are angry. Players want to understand, and we're starting to see that the devs want to make an effort too. They're just cautious because of their past experiences. So I'm hopeful. I'm going to be cautious, as always. I'm a little paranoid about a lot of things, but I'm hopeful. And I have a little bit better insight into who these people are, not just as employees, but as people. And that's one of the things I've been looking forward to being able to do. What about you, Oden?
You got me, man. You just took care of everything, pretty much what you said. I'm 100% in agreement with you. 100% in agreement with you. Sorry, it's been a long, long day. But when it comes down to it, really, yes, everybody wants to be respected. Everybody wants to say, appreciate the work that I'm doing. All right. Well, give us a reason to do so. Don't start shooting down people. And this is going for both sides. Don't start shooting down people because they're trying to do something here. If they make a mistake, right, hey, look, there's a mistake made here. Next time, please don't do that. We're actually going to bring up one of those points up here shortly. But there's no, you're trying to do the same work that we've already done, and your work is useless and meaningless to us. Goodbye. Okay, well, if it's useless and meaningless, then please show us the results of it. Or if you already know what this is, then you can fix it.
It sometimes does smart to read those types of responses to where we've figured out something or extrapolated something with the data available to us, and then we're just told, oh no, you are wrong, you are so wrong. And I mean, it's not that we're being told that we're wrong. I think it's the tone that's being used, like, oh no, you guys totally have it wrong. We've only got a limited view of what, we can only see so much, we can only extrapolate so much. So I don't know, that I don't really have a point to this discourse. I guess I'm just saying it would be nice to see a change in tone in some ways.
Well,
From maybe from both sides, even, not just us, not just them, not just us, but tone is important.
Well, a recent example with me from my post about a month ago on Reddit and the Stowe forums, my open letter to Cryptic, is I had one of the devs ask me some specific questions about some of the issues that I raised, which I went into the time to record videos to show how they were replicated and those sort of things to up spreadsheets, and they weren't even looked at. So, and I haven't taken it any further from there. So, and I think my other point in all of this is that if we're critical about something that we find in the game, that's not a personal attack against anybody. That is our rights as customers to say we're critical about this. Here's valuable feedback for you to either take it on board, make it a part of your plans, or just know about it. We're giving you information, and knowledge is power, okay? But to say that we're personally attacking people because we're giving our opinion based on the content that you put out, that's stretching it a little bit. I have to be honest about. That's stretching it.
Goes back to tone. It goes back to how you render your opinion, not just that you've rendered one.
True.
It's something that I
True,
think
but
many people could work on it. Many people could work on how they come across to other folks. I know that I could, and so at least part of the problem, part of the issue is just human nature. It really is.
this is true.
And another part leading up to that, a very insightful statement that you just made there. A part of the human nature is that the people who have either a close to neutral stance or kind of a, yeah, this is favorable, but I don't want to say anything because I don't want to shake the boat or upset somebody, will remain quiet. And yet you will see, some of the people who don't want to offer feedback or constructive criticism or, hey, you know what, you're doing a good job, but here's some things that can be improved. They would rather shout out at the very loudest point, you stink, you suck, you're horrible, blah, blah, blah. Or they end up taking whatever information you have and trolling it to death. Those are the people who tend to stand out the most and are the most communicative, that
They're the loudest.
people focus. Yeah, not so much the loudest, but the ones that people focus on the most. They grab the most attention immediately and quickly, and that's what sticks in people's minds whenever they're returning back to, the environment where they found them in the first place.
Right. We like to call them seagulls. They come in, squawk, and crap everywhere.
Nice one. Nice one. Well, what we really need, though, honestly, and is something that I told Thomas beforehand, hey, you know what? If everybody left the Facebook group, for STO, what would be left? All the people who are seagulls. Is that the type of community you want to have? And then new players who are coming in, they see that first?
Facebook is a major, it's a major social network. Even though there's no official presence, that sort of thing should also be considered when you're thinking of public consideration, public opinion. If everyone on the Facebook group for STO is crap, and your first exposure to the game is through the FB group, you're gonna have a bad time.
Which is why I've been trying to work on that. I mean, we're currently, the Facebook group has a representation of about 12,500 players, roughly. They're signed in, they play the game, they ask questions. They're asking questions from anything to build mechanics on how to better their ship, to what the patch notes are. I mean, anything. We just recently had a question about the STO gateway, if that will be worked on in the near future, because people are hopeful.
I always forget about it.
But they're wanting to know if it will be revisited because it's a great add-on tool for the game. So there's questions going out there. It just so happens there are a few that are there to be seagulls. But they're not, I don't think they're as bad as what they used to be. I think a lot of those bad elements have gone because they've been permanently banned.
Yeah.
But I can understand that. I mean, it's just like the forums. It's one reason why I try to stay away from the forums, because it's filled with seagulls at times.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally a toxic environment to the point where I don't see anyone being able to have a reasonable discourse without, a lot of luck.
There's a couple of things here. In regards to the communications and stuff, Snipey's been away for a little bit. We missed him on last week's show, but he's managed to catch up and stumbled over Loot Critter's blog.
Yes.
Mr. Luke Critter.
I was away from last week's show. I had a net outage, so yeah, apologise for that. And I'm in the middle of moving house, so yeah, I've taken a while to catch up on things. But I stumbled across Luke Critter's latest blog this morning entitled Bug Busters, and it's an excellent one of Luke Critter's longer blogs, but it is an extremely good read. It's very encouraging to the bug busters process, and on a bit of a side note, I would like to thank Loot Critter for referencing my contribution with my forum and Reddit post, if it really did contribute at all in his blog. That was very thoughtful. But if you haven't checked out Luke Critter's blog on the Bug Busters initiative that Cryptic are in trying to endeavour on, we suggest you do. It's an excellent read. So the link will be in the notes for the show.
It's actually fairly simple, lootcritter.com. And just to move on real quickly, Alan, our emergency role-playing hologram, has had some immersion problems that he wants to talk about.
Yeah, so last week, I believe it was Bordicus leaked on Twitter. If you kill yourself while your party amplifier is active, it lives forever. You sacrifice yourself for its immortality. And from there, the disco balls just came popping up everywhere. I actually did a short video when I thought it was actually just restricted to Drozona. So I popped over to Drozona, and there was one instance where I counted about six disco balls. Yeah. It was a little annoying. Not much on the frame rate loss, though. Like, it dipped down to 20. Your standard film is 24 frames per second, so it was no biggie. But then I started getting word from other players that they were popping up on DS9. There was a lot of them in Quarks. There was a lot of them in Earth Space Dock. Yeah. And then the heaviest one was Risa Resort. And when I looked at all the locations, and when I beamed into Risa Resort, because I actually had some filming that I wanted to do on the resort and ended up couldn't do, but I beamed onto the pier, and I counted about 16 disco balls, and it just kind of shot my frame rate down between 10 and 15. Like, walking around that area just kind of hurt. I've seen some comments where individuals are saying, well, if you have a proper computer, you shouldn't be experiencing these kind of things. Well, that's not necessarily the case. You got to remember that we're also on a system that is network and system-wise is a little taxed and has lag pretty much anywhere you go. Like when you're flying through sector space, running through Earth Space Dock, Risa Resort, because it's such a visually enriched environment, there's a little blips of lag, like nothing bad, but when you add these disco balls and at that multitude, it just messes with things. And there was a lot of complaints from players saying that it was affecting their system and causing lag when they went into these places, and I totally believe them. Like, if I played on my potato machine, I would expect heavy lag, and I'd be frustrated too. Not everybody can afford the best, and I think we need to remember that too, because this is a free-to-play game. I don't always have the money to shell out for Zen when I want the new shinies. I usually got to wait till a month or whatever. The computer that I have took me a year to get to the point that it's at now, so I did do a little run around before the show today. I went to Earth Space Dock, DS9, Risa Resort. I didn't go to Drozona. That place scares me. But DS9 had 2 disco balls still. All the disco balls on the Risa Resort were completely gone, and there was only the one instance. And Earth Space Dock, I jumped around on a couple of instances, and it seemed that there was no more disco balls. So I'm glad that this is being patched to kind of eliminate this bug again. I'm a little curious as to why it was leaked out to begin with, and then to act kind of surprised that people didn't show what's the word? Restraint. Thank you. Yeah, didn't show restraint. Like, I don't know how many people play this game, like how many people are actually subscribed or free to play or whatever. But yeah, that's. And then to find it kind of funny that people are doing it, I thought that was, yeah. If I still have the question as to why that was
Trolls,
even.
mate.
No, I'm kind of curious as to why a developer would leak a bug like that out there, especially with disco balls. Like, it's no secret that people hate disco balls. That's why they introduced.
That's why they actually released the item that makes you not dance.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, to some people's point that has been made, actually, Massively OP did a short article about it, referencing the specific tweets, and we'll have the Massively OP link in the description below when this is all done. But yeah, it's in the comments. It's not so much that it affect, like, you start dancing. Like, if you're walking around and doing stuff, it's not going to make you dance as long as you're moving. But for the role players who go to Quarks and like to stand around and chat, it is a little annoying. That's why they released that thing. I don't know what other purpose disco balls serve. Like, if it's fun, cool, but that's all I have on the matter, really. I still have that question lingering on my head, and I'm sure you guys do too, as to why that bug was divulged. And hey, if there's an answer, hit me up. I'd like to hear that answer.
The ancillary question that I actually have related to that is, I am kind of floored at a reaction I see from the community. I've seen it specifically from some people, and that reaction is, if you don't have a box good enough to deal with the party balls, too bad, so sad. I'm really seeing that attitude out there. As you said, Alan, it's a free-to-play game. I'm playing it on an 8-year-old box. It's a good 8-year-old box. It handles STO no problem. But I know a lot of folks that just don't have the muscle, don't have the money to buy a machine that does more than run STO in min spec. And so to express that attitude that, oh, deal with the party balls or get a better computer, I was just, that's not the reaction I normally see from the community. I see a kinder reaction than that normally, and I was just surprised and flabbergasted that I saw that at all. That, oh no, go screw yourself if you don't have a machine good enough to run STO.
I will say this much. Sorry, go on.
I was just saying it's a flawed statement anyway. Like, I run a GTX 970 Strix, and my frame rates were affected on Risa as well. So sure. It's the ignorance of some people just to say that.
Yeah, it's not affecting me, so it's not affecting anybody else. That, in my opinion, is a really selfish and stupid stance to take.
And lots of us in this room know about that sort of comments when we sarcasm knows what I'm talking about here. When we were on the forums putting up our lag videos, those sort of comments were endemic, particularly from some people. Yeah.
Yeah, I was disappointed and embarrassed at what I read, and
to borrow a line from you, actually, was, okay, I have a sandwich, therefore there's no world hunger.
I was just gonna point out the sandwich fallacy. I just want to jump in and interrupt for half a minute here, We have currently 2 streams going. We have the regular stream that we usually do, and at the same time, we're doing a test stream that includes a live chat option. This is just a little bit of testing here. One of the guys that was listening to the live stream, Mike Sharp, just commented that my voice is a little bit louder than everyone else's. I just want to ask, Mike, is it still too loud? Because I've gone back and did a little bit of an adjustment there. And
You
it's
sound
got,
balanced to me. I mean, I don't know how it is relative
it's
to me.
different. It's from my end, from the software that I'm using to broadcast. It's a little bit different from what you're seeing. So
All right. I think I may have the solution on here as far as it, because I've already adjusted your volume from the Hangouts end, so I'll be able to take care of that. If anybody is too loud somewhere, I should be able to adjust the master volume going
Or
out, so that
too
shouldn't be
quiet.
too much of a problem.
Sorry, guys.
Or too quiet, vice versa. All right, sorry for the detour. Continuing on.
Mikey,
Yeah,
I
what do we
think
have
you have the floor. Or are we done with?
Well, I was pretty much done with my rant as it is. I rant a lot, and that's what I really had to rant about this week is just the not and I want to be specific. This was not the entire community. This was a few outliers. This was just a few people saying, "Oh, if you can't deal with the disco balls and your computer's too slow, too bad, so sad."
Yeah.
I didn't see it widespread, and if I had, I would probably be even more disappointed. But as it was, I was disappointed to see that at all.
Yeah.
That's not the kind of community we need to be. We need to be all together, and we include people that run slow machines, and we include people that have 970s and 980s and Titans and all kinds of fun stuff. And those folks make the pretty demo records for us, and that's fine.
Yeah, I often on the term of computer graphics, like because of the system I have friends in my fleet that don't have the best spec computer, and that's fine. And what I'll do sometimes is I'll take a screenshot of their like just crank the graphics on my thing like up to render scale 3.
Render scale, yep,
and
yep.
I'll do screenshots of their ships so they can have like I know how bad things can look when you have to run the graphics to like medium to low.
Someone actually did that for me. The Audi, the picture of my Audi on my Twitter page is actually at Hooby Boobies. It's his art, and I want to thank him for it live if I can. And it's just beautiful. It looks nothing like it looks on my box.
Yeah, I think I've done some work here for Oden and Timber already. But anyway, so this is a game guy. We're all Star Trek fans. We're in Star Trek Online because we love Star Trek. Let's just love Star Trek together. Help out the community. Don't be so
Totally
selfish. Don't be elitist.
Totally with it.
And let's move on from the disco balls.
Yeah. It's being fixed tomorrow, folks. So yeah, that's all I got to say about the disco balls.
Thank you, Cryptic, for fixing them.
Yes, thank you for fixing them, Cryptic.
SOB stumbled upon something amusing on the subreddit.
Yep. Bordicus recently commented on a Reddit thread asking why we run normal content instead of advanced or elite for items like patrols. So I went, got some numbers, and you can see there's quite a bit of a difference on that spreadsheet. Advanced has 220% of the HP of normal, but only rewards 150% of the XP. And then when we look at the difference between elite and normal, it's nearly 8 times the HP for 2.5 times the reward. It's just not worth the extra time spent.
I'm actually really surprised that Bordicus actually commented on that, because if you remember back to the time when XP was a serious bugbear of the community, this is before they increased the XP across everything in the game and lowered what the patrols gave you when people were farming Argala and Japori and things like that. I went to the trouble of doing a spreadsheet of and using the same ship, showing what it took me in time to do a normal Japori, or I think it might have been Argala, and the XP that I got from all the NPC deaths and the XP bonus at the end. I did advance and I did elite. And what it basically came down to, I haven't got that spreadsheet anymore, but if I was getting 10,000 XP total for doing Japori in 90 seconds versus 15,000 XP for doing Japori in 7 minutes, which one do you think I'm going to choose? There's an answer to your question, Bordicus. SOB has shown it in a very simple format there, but that is the problem that's systemic to advanced and elite content versus normal content in this game.
I think it's been that way for a long time, too.
Yeah, it's been around since November of last year.
You know, I like difficult content to be able to just have the difficulty, so I'm going to be in the minority on this one here. But with that said, when you're trying to, in essence, farm for materials to build yourself up so you can go to the harder content and then farm the materials again and continue that cycle, you're looking at the risk versus reward and seeing that, hey, you know what? Easy mode is going to give me a lot more material for my time versus this ultra difficult mode here that's going to be for nothing. So if Bordicus, if you want to say that, okay, elites is just for the challenge, normal and advanced are just for farming, all right, I personally can live with that. But if you're saying, okay, we want people to go for elites because the rewards are better, we're not seeing that.
Definitely not, especially when it comes down to the points that you need to fill your specialization trees, which is what it comes down to many who do the patrols.
There's a deeper underlying problem here. When Delta Rising came out, the reward you would get from running Advanced and Elite was somewhat close to each other, and it made sense. If the difficulty or the HP went up by 6 times or 7 times as it was at that point, and the XP rewards that you got went up 5 times, 5.5 times, at least they were close to each other. It makes sense. In any other game in the world, it's logical. It makes sense. You increase the difficulty, you increase the rewards. Risk versus rewards. This is not what we have here. So we had the whole Japori Gate, Taudawa Gate, where people were plowing through Japori and getting XP really, really fast, and the devs freaked out. And you know how the devs are. I'll be honest here. I'm going to be really blunt. They're going to look at it, and then they're going to double, triple nerf it. They're going to over nerf something. This has always been their reaction to things. They don't do a simple fix. They over nerf, and this is what they went and did. So instead of having a risk-reward ratio for these patrols, and pretty much everything else in the game as well, we have a metrics rewards system where the basis is the metrics, the holy metrics. How much time are people supposed to spend in these things? And that's what it's all about. They want the progression to be the same no matter what. It should take you a week to get the spec points, whether you're doing it in normal, advanced, or elite. And it's a little bit frustrating. The more difficult the content gets, in effect, the less reward you're getting. The more people, they even nerfed it so that you get diminishing returns if you go in with a team. So the more people you bring into the team with you and do a patrol, the worse the reward gets, which is, excuse the word, ass backwards compared to all the other games. Let's take, for example, Borderlands 2. If you want to get the better rewards, then you go in and you jump online and you get a team of 2, 3, 4 people together, and that's how you get the truly spectacular rewards. Like
in fact, it's kind of geared to where if you want really good stuff, you have to. It's not just an option. Like that might be an interesting point too. Is that grouping together, which is not something that is heavily encouraged by ST right now. Adding that and giving bonuses for it. In other words, balancing the other way might be a great idea. Yeah.
It used to be like that before Delta Rising, but then again, we got the retaliatory nerfs, which we've had so many of them in the past. There's a couple of other things, for example, that have cropped up. For example, Vault Ensnared or Viscous Cycle Elite. Some of these elite queues actually reward less than normal. I shit you not, pardon my language, I shit you not, if you go do a VCE, you will get 17 marks out of it.
I believe that's been a fairly long-standing bug as far as they go, too, for a few months now.
Yeah, so this is...
Vault Ensnared Elite, getting... we haven't been able to get the optional despite trying, so we don't know what the optional adds in terms of marks. Even when those research lab consoles were putting out ridiculous amounts of DPS, we still couldn't get the optional at the end. But to get to do an elite and only get 35 marks or 36 marks from it, it's not. And then a normal is like 28 marks. I'd love to know what metrics they use to set those.
It's obviously a bug. I really doubt that's intentional, that an elite rewards less than a normal. But seriously, I mean, this is a ongoing issue. And like I said, it's a big problem with the game, where the more difficult the content gets, the less rewarding it's going to be. And this is all in regards to the metrics.
I have to be honest, Cam, my experience with teams in the patrols isn't the same as yours. From what I've been able to determine, if you get 100, if you're in a patrol by yourself and you kill an NPC and say for using round numbers, you get 100 XP for killing that. If you have 5 people in a patrol and kill that same NPC, that 100 gets divided by 5. But to offset that, they put 5 times the amount of NPCs in the patrol. So in my experience, it has netted out fairly evenly. So yeah, you do get less XP points per person per death, but there is a multiplier based on the amount of team members you have in the team and the patrol. It'd be good if Cryptic could give us some feedback on that, because there's 2 people on this panel that have had different experiences. So it would be good to have some clarification on the mechanics of that system.
Well, was anybody by chance using command? Because lower down in the command tree, in the lower tiers, you would actually see an XP gain, if I remember correctly.
Yep, tier 4.
Yes, that people using that would actually be beneficial for doing those type of grinding runs, just to go and get the spec points out.
Same with pairing with the vet, because we get the 5% skill bonus as well.
Yes, and then the Talaxian, don't they get a reward too? Or is it somebody else I was thinking of?
Kabali.
Maybe.
It's Talaxian.
Oh, no, it is Talaxian.
Is it? I thought they had the random chance to grab R&D samples. Yeah, which is broken.
It's called. It's not a trait or anything. It's a trait within. It's not a selectable trait on your captain side. It's a racial trait. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right.
So the thing is here, Snipey, we did some tests, and this is not just by myself. It was myself. Numbers was in it. A couple other guys from the DPS channels. And we discovered that there is a sweet spot, and you really want to have a really high DPS group to hit that sweet spot. And it's like 3 people on the team. If you get 4 or 5, then your rewards just drop. It's not even worth it. that's as if you even want to run the elites, and again, the elites are not even worth it. You're better off just running normal solo, just doing the solo normal stuff will net you better results,
you are.
XP per minute, than doing it per team. It's not worth it.
Right, and I really think they should try and reward the team play. You know, if this is a bug, fix it.
One thing I do want to say, though, I mean, I'm, again, me being the oddball here, I enjoy Borg Disconnected. I actually like to play it on elites. It's very hard to try and grab people for elite because if they're going to do it for the rewards, they want to do it on advanced because, one, it's quicker, two, it's easier, three, you don't have to go through all sorts of rigmarole in order to try and be able to get it. So they'd rather do it on normal or advanced instead of elite. I'm like, well, what about fun? You know? And some people like, well, it's too tedious in order for it to be fun because they want the reward as well as the difficulty level, the competition. And the reward for them, the carrot, isn't good enough for them.
Well, if it paid 300 marks, I'm sure you'd get more takers. But it doesn't pay that much more marks than advance, and the carrot of the elite R&D box is not enough to get players to do it. However, if the R&D box did, if the RNG on the R&D boxes dropped more 10 packs or 20 packs of Argonite, that might get more people to do it. Like in the
or a rare component or something like that. That'd be nice.
Like in the years since those R&D boxes have been around, almost a year, I think that I've only gotten 20 packs twice, 10 packs probably a dozen times, and 13 packs probably twice as well, of the radiogenic or the Argonite or things like that. So
I think the other thing that discourages people from trying the elite is some of the people who know how to do the elites, like I've heard before, that you need to be a 75k in order to do elite, where I actually ended up doing it with some people who were able to explain things, and I'm only recently 50k, and we were actually able to get through it really really good, actually. Like, we got the optionals and everything for things like Hive Elite. That one specifically, there's the fear, I think with the general population, there's the fear that if they go into these elites and things get buggered up, they're going to get flamed all to hell. And
no way.
When we bugger our HSC runs, we simply say warp out, let's do this again. That's just how it goes.
Forget that. Bring in a good tank and a torpedo boat.
But I'm speaking from the point of view of people who want to try it, who haven't really had the experience like us in here have. And I think it just might be a little bit daunting to them.
It is daunting. I mean, some of those AT sponges are huge.
But I think it goes back to team building. It's for some of these elites, you can't think the typical Star Trek Online. The mentality I use is World of Warcraft build. I use World of Warcraft building. So if you're doing HSC, you need a tank, you need crowd control. You've got to do more than just, okay, well, I've got high DPS nowadays. Sometimes you have to do a team build, and communication is key on some of these elite runs.
Absolutely.
You know what? Linking all of this discussion back to the rewards here. Now, this is a question I'm going to pose over to Cryptic. Is it possible to be able to link a fleet or armada reward based off of the members of said fleet and armada doing one of these difficulties? You know, the elites or the advanced difficulties, where they would get a percentage cost reduction for fleet projects or extra dill or something else of that matter. Where if you have a fleet or armada going into one of these advanced or elite queues, space or ground, and they complete it, they would get X. Complete with all optionals, X plus Y.
And it needs to be, and that's a great idea. And not just doing it once and then it's locked to that fleet forever. Is that, you got to do it every week, or every fortnight or something like that. It's like a an accolade for the fleet that can expire.
I think between what the chat is saying and a couple of us already here, I think it'll fly. You know what? Somebody should post it on the forums whenever they get back online. Make a poll, see what happens. You know what? I tasked the Grand Negus and invoke rule of acquisition number 13. Get to it.
Case of staff.
His staff, not mine.
Speaking of staff,
Don't nibble on it though.
Oh, no. Anyway, please, Mr. ERP, go.
I was just going to say, speaking of the staff, Mr. Aaron Eisenberg, we got a little bit of news about him today.
Yeah. It's very sad.
So, if nobody has heard yet, I think it was 30 years ago he had a kidney transplant, and I think it was today or yesterday, whatever. He found out that that kidney that he had received is currently failing, if I recall. But he's going to have to go back onto dialysis, which I've heard is a painful process, and be on the list waiting for
The donor
a kidney.
list,
Yeah. So my thoughts, and I'm sure everybody else's thoughts here, go out to Aaron Eisenberg. I hope kidney pops up for you sooner than later, and hang in there, man. I think
Best wishes.
yeah, I think we should all create a Ferengi character, and this goes to anybody else who's listening, and we all get together and do a big-assed picture. I'll do the screenshot. I want like hundreds of Ferengis in Earth space stock, and we
All
tweet
dancing.
that stuff to him. Yeah,
At the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm in.
I'm in. I'll get my
I'm
decor
doing
out.
this. As soon as the stream's over, I'm rolling a Ferengi.
Because he called it at Star Trek Las Vegas. He's like, just play
Right.
a Ferengi. Well,
Sit
let's
down
do
and
that.
play a Ferengi.
Yeah. So let's make a Ferengi. Let's get all together. We'll do a screenshot and we'll tweet it out to him.
That's right. I'm gonna
do a space shot as well with people in their Nandis and decoras.
I'll try to figure out
Yes.
a tag to trend it or something like that, and we'll see how far we can push this.
Oh, you know what? We'll just use the tag that started circulating at Star Trek Las Vegas. Yeah, when he was up there doing his rant, he's like, just play a Ferengi, and that's the hashtag that started going out. I'm like, oh, we will obey here. We're playing Ferengis.
That's right.
Yeah, I think we need to step that up.
And in true Nog spirit, most, if not all of them, should be engineers, since that typically was his branch in DS9.
That is my Ferengi. He's an engineer.
And Cryptic
well,
Thieves,
so,
if you want to come with, come on in on the screenshot with us too.
And hopefully, Aaron, you'll be able to come back and actually enjoy time with all of us and your fans when the next Star Trek Las Vegas shows up. So get well soon, brother.
Okay, believe Alan's got the mic now for the next part.
Oh, again? Oh.
Continue, man. Yeah, you're on a roll here.
Well, there's one thing that we forgot last week, actually. It was Gene Roddenberry's 94th birthday last Wednesday. So,
Oh, wow.
happy birthday, Gene Roddenberry. Wherever
Happy
you are.
birthday to the man who helped bring us and inspired us and everything that we see here today. Modern technology, concepts, new ideas, people who went into the STEM fields were inspired by the stories that this man wrote, created, and pushed for. You know, he wasn't perfect, but he made us think of a time where humanity can actually strive for perfection and be better than what we are right now. And so we thank him for that dream and for all the people who helped make that dream, you know, a reality for all of us who grew up watching Star Trek. Whether it's you're the actor, the producer, executive director, cameraman, special effects guys, the scientists that they brought on as specialists for advisors, because that made myself and people like Alcubierre, people like Higginbotham, people like Alcubierre is a physicist who actually came up with the warp field equations, real-life warp field equations, so that if we can find an energy source and a drive to actually generate this field distortion, we can literally move between the stars. We will be a spacefaring race to move literally between the stars well within our lifetimes. People like Joan Higginbotham, astronaut over at NASA, deeply inspired by Star Trek. 2/3 of the people out there, deeply inspired by Star Trek.
Well, Kuda's working for NASA now, and he's inspired. Of course, he's inspired by Star Trek.
Of course. You look at the guys over at SpaceX. Tell me, how many of them are not inspired by Star Trek? You'll probably find maybe 3 or 4 out of the entire crew there, maybe. And even then, they probably say, "Yeah, I watched a couple episodes. It looked cool." So we thank Gene Roddenberry and everybody who will help make that vision for a better humanity, whether both be introspective of itself as well as using technology to help us to work through our problems. Thank you.
Happy belated birthday.
Okay, cool.
So, Timber, Alan, this week we saw the results of something you guys talked about a few weeks ago. So, take it away, please.
Well, it was something that we had announced a long time. It was the Foundry challenge. And after the live stream, Alan furiously started working on a trailer for that particular mission. And he finally finished it this week. Got to see it as he was working on it. We were able to do a few minor things. It was mainly the background audio that he said he had a lot of headaches with.
Oh, yeah.
But I got to say, the final result, it is perfectly worthy of the effort that went into the episode. That's where I'm going to hand it off to Alan because, I mean, I'm not worthy. I'm sorry. Every time I watch a video of his, I have to cry a little bit at his awesomeness.
All the QQ. Good QQ, though. Yeah, I don't know what much to say about it. The winning contest was by a guy in-game. His @handle is at NCC-89471, and the Foundry mission is called Trouble in Paradise. Essentially what happens is the Iconians come and mess up Risa. There's a little bit of cough cough Franklin Drake. The actual description from the mission, it's really short. Even Risa, the Federation's most famous pleasure planet, holds its share of secrets. One of those secrets could be the key to ending the Iconian War, but can it be trusted in the hands of Franklin Drake? So if you play through this mission and take your time reading the storyline and that, it'll take you about an hour, but it is really good. It's got some good combat action, as I tease in the trailer. It's got some space action, as seen in the trailer. There's things on fire. But yeah, we'll have the link for that video on there. I took a peek at the reviews, and it looks like since the video's been released, he's actually had about 5 or 6 people leaving comments and actually really enjoying the game, mission. So yeah, congratulations to NCC-89471, and I don't know what else to really say about the video. It was a lot of fun, and I'm glad the second one that I did with the second choice of audio was better than the first.
It came out amazing as always, and I really want to thank everybody that went into that competition. I want to thank PAX for that submission. It was beautiful. It was what I felt was needed for Foundry and for an edition. So thank you, and me and Alan can't wait to see your next work.
Beautiful.
One other thing I wanted to bring up here real quick is as far as the actual community involvement. And we wanted to get something outside of the quote-unquote DPS community, quote-unquote PvP community. So I wanted to ask Alan and Mikey real quick, what do you guys see within your spheres of influence as far as the community involvement within STO? People seem to be more active, more excited, less active, kind of just waiting to see what's coming over the horizon. Give it up. Let us know what's happening.
Let me take it first if you don't mind, Alan.
No, go for it. I've done lots of talking.
Well, so I'm a moderator of STO builds, not of the main STO community. There's enough work for me in STO builds and elsewhere, but so actually I don't get the same experience as a lot of the other folks do that mob the large community. What I get is kind of like that the fringe folks. I get folks that come in and basically need complete direction. They don't have any idea where to start, and we actually love those most of all. We'll rip them down and we'll build them back up hard, and we have. And I guess one trend that I'm seeing that I don't mind, that I really like, is that the Holy Trinity is starting to be a little bit more respected. We touched on it briefly earlier, but roles in some of the elite content is they're a lot better of an idea than they were in the past, and so we're seeing more tanks. I still don't see that many healers. I would love to see more, as I've said many times to a lot of folks. It's very possible to do a decent amount of damage and still throw heals for the whole match. I can show you how, STO builds can show you how, and it's a ton of fun. So that's the one trend I noticed, is that support builds, tanks, and things like that are coming up. There's a tank group now. Hi H2O. And lots of other folks, ATEM, Fane's got a good tank, and I love seeing that. I don't know if you guys love seeing it as much as I do, but I love it.
Actually, two of those names you mentioned are the reasons why I was able to capitalize so well in High Space Elite, and so shout outs to them.
Come on, bro.
Bro, you were good, man, but oh my gosh. All right, look, it was a team effort. We crushed it. Good game to everybody. Oh, by the way,
you're an insane monster with those torpedoes.
Only because you bastards kept me alive.
That's the beauty of it. We can sit there, we can help you stay alive, and watch you rain death.
You finally using the AP torp?
You know what? That thing is a spirit bomb of pure energy. Is not kinetic, and therefore I'm putting it down now. The kinetic community does not endorse the AP torpedo.
We do not.
Feeling some love.
So the kinetic community does not endorse the best torpedo in the game. Got it.
It is not kinetic, therefore it does not matter.
Doesn't count.
Cool.
Exactly. Oh, by the way, shout out to this guy named Lewis, one of the awesomest healers I've ever ran in with. Every time he comes over to CCA, he gives me a run for my money on getting first place. He's a phenomenal healer. Thank you, and shout out to Latinum Fleets.
Good to see more of them.
Now, I do appreciate the fact that there are players playing the various roles, such as tank, for example. I just have a belief, and I've talked with Vel before about this, and I've talked to those tanks about it. I think that dedicated tanks are a bit of a detriment to the current meta, where a lot of us are running reciprocity build and running half tanks, off tanks that require just a little bit of aggro, just splitting the aggro between everyone. You get a pure tank that is a pure aggro build, aggro grabbing build, just wrecks those builds. It just shuts you down completely, and I find it a little bit frustrating. Not that I have anything against those guys. It's great that they're exploring these different ways of playing the game. It just pisses me off that they're wrecking my preferred build.
And that's why you go with, a pre-built team for some of this stuff. You have your discussion and you say, well, what are you running? And considering the team makeup is at least as important as considering your own build.
That is correct.
Which is one of the reasons why I find reciprocity unreliable.
It sure is an interesting mechanic, and I like it.
It definitely is.
And I like unusual mechanics like it. But Cam has an excellent point.
Yes, he does. Okay, we're moving on.
Moving on, please take this subject here with some heavy dosage of wow. Please take it away, Sniper.
some people may be aware of my post on the bug forums regarding the trait called Invincible, which is a trait that you get from a ship from the latest. I'm sorry, you get with
It's
Logan.
the
Sorry, it's a
Sol
Logan
heavy
ship.
cruiser.
It's a Zol heavy cruiser. And what Invincible does, what it's meant to do, is that once you reach 5% hull, and you can go all the way down to 0%, you are effectively unkillable for 8 seconds. And during those 8 seconds, you get a massive buff to your hull and shield healing. So if you, it's basically your heals become an oh crap button, and you get a massive heal from it. But what it turns out has happened, which particularly affects tactical captains, is that you cannot activate go down fighting, which is a significant captain's ability. And for those who don't play tax, go down fighting basically is a buff to your damage output for a minute based on the percentage of hull you've got left at the time that you activate it. So the lower hull that you have, the greater the damage buff is. Now it does say that the go down fighting. The feedback we had from Bordicus was that initially, when other people brought this up, that they purposely turned off the ability for go down fighting, so you didn't have this massive damage buff and be unkillable for that short of time, which sort of makes sense. But that is not actually the reality. The reality is that you cannot activate go down fighting at all until Invincible is activated and since then expired. So just say, for example, you get to 45% hull, which under normal circumstances you are allowed to activate go down fighting, and you don't go any lower than that 45%. You can't actually activate go down fighting at all, and then you recover. So tactical captains have basically one of their major traits or major abilities unable to be used. And I reported this as a bug because and I touched the video. I gave as much information as I could. Alan actually helped me record that video. And the response that I got from Bordicus was that they effectively flag you as unkillable, and that's why you can't activate go down fighting. And there was an interesting exchange between Bordicus and myself, to his credit, they've promised to look at it again, to look at the way that they've set it up again. But the trait wording specifically says that once that Invincible becomes active at 5% and lasts for 8 seconds. Okay, and my feedback was, well, that's not the reality. If you told us on that trait that you purposely set up tactical captains to not be able to use go down fighting until that trait procs itself and then expires, I wouldn't have spent my 900 Lobby on getting that ship. And that is the general consensus of people who have invested to get Invincible. Okay, that's not to say that even the way Invincible is, that it isn't useful, but it does impact what you can do as a tactical captain. So in the show notes will be a link to my video demonstrating what the reality is versus the wording that they put into the trait description. When the forums come back up online, we'll put a link to the thread on the forums. But what's everyone else's opinion on this? Because I have to admit it disappointed me. To me it was completely misleading. The trait wording is completely misleading to what it actually does for TAC captains.
I can see it disabling GDF during the 8-second buff, but not for the entire duration where the thing is not on cooldown.
Right. That's an oversight. It's got to be.
And
No. Bordicus said that they purposely did it that way. Against the wording of the trait, they purposely did it that way.
Needs to be rebalanced then, because it doesn't seem to be all that attractive of a trait, and they want to sell ships and stuff.
So my advice to everyone out there considering getting the Zal ship is to wait to see what if you're a tactical captain considering getting the Zal ship for that trait,
or the trait.
I wouldn't wait. Yeah, for the trait, yes. I would save your 900 Lobby for now, or your 129 million EC, or whatever the current rate is for that ship, and see what Cryptic actually does to that trait to improve it beyond its current condition, because the wording of the trait does not reflect what the condition is.
Yeah, I've had some issues with this trait. It doesn't really make you unkillable. I've discovered
that was my next point.
It's happened to me a few times where if you take a massive amount of damage, you will die. If you have basically full hull, full shields, and you take enough damage to 1 or 2 shot you, say in Hive Space Elite, when you take a torpedo spread, or 2 or 3.
Or if you run into one of my high yields by accident.
It will one-shot you. It will bypass Invincible completely. You will die.
So that needs to be looked at as well. Those comments, I think PvP and Name Lunch Show added that on my bug forum. So if Bordicus is still monitoring that thread, he would know about it by now. If not, please go and look at that thread, and there is some information there about that.
And something fun I noticed with it is you can still activate ramming speed with Invincible not on cooldown.
Wow, I'm surprised you gave up some of your cheese. Chief of Cheesy Tactics. Yes, you can activate ramming speed with Invincible on, and you will not die from it, but you will pretty much kill the person
it results in the other guy getting shredded cheese.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Getting soft there, SOB.
That's what happens when you take cheese out of the fridge. It gets soft.
That's true. That's all I pretty much had to say on that. So, yeah.
Thank you. Oh, by the way, public service announcement for those in the Kinetic community. Now that our numbers are actually in the hundreds. Yes, believe it or not, hundreds. Talk. Dude, no, it's not crazy talk. It's not crazy talk. When the forums come online, you'll be able to see them there. Go look at STO builds. Wait, you moderate that. You should see it yourself.
I see nothing.
You see nothing. You see nothing.
I'm blinded by Torpedo Flash. We'll go
Are you sure that you're not using the AP talk, because that's a talk that can do those sort of numbers?
You have the logs. You know better. You know better. Anyway, public service announcement. For anybody who's using torpedoes, do not take them up past Mark 14 very rare. If they somehow kick over as you're upgrading them to ultra rare, that's fine, whatever. But if you get them to very rare, stop. It's not worth the time to upgrade them any further. You're not going to get the expected damage that should be there when you upgrade them beyond very rare to ultra rare and then to epic. Mods are broken. They're not working. You don't have the full damage potential out of them as you do with other weapon platforms. Stop at very rare. You'll be good.
Now we can expect this probably to get looked at, just like the mods on some of the ground weapons got revisited and fixed and all that. And that was recent. That was last week, I think. So, we might see fixing the torpedoes as well. I can hope so.
Wait a second.
Yeah. You guys didn't read about that?
No.
It was in one of the patch notes.
No, hold on. What's got me confused a little bit here is you're implying that they'll look at torpedoes?
Yeah, I guess that's a good point.
Wasn't there a comment made by Bordicus about when somebody else had asked them when you're going to look at why don't you address some of these issues with torpedoes? Something like that. I can't remember the response on that by chance.
I can only hope for a more optimistic outlook on the future then. If the kinetic community is growing as fast as that, you know, you want to please the player base. You want to help them out. You want to crank out stuff that they like. So that may be worth a revisit, devs, if you haven't looked at it.
Yeah, I've even put a torp on my.
Sorry.
I'd put a torp on my scimitar even.
Torps are fun. I don't have the turn rate for them.
You don't count, Spencer.
Does Cryptic know about this?
It's been submitted. There have been a couple individual issues submitted that were related to this, but it's like saying, okay, we've identified this particular virus. And then we identified another virus and another one, but we didn't identify what the source virus was that's causing all these other mutations out there. So now we've identified the source.
Oh, it's weird that that's not appearing on the patch notes, but yeah, that's a discussion from a previous week.
Yeah, but that's there. So it is out there. Notice has been done now that we have plenty of people who are actually starting to use kinetics for their alts, who want to start spending their dill and their resources to upgrade them. Stop at very rare. No point in going any further for the time being. What I would like to find out if it's actually intentional that the upgrade formula is persistent for energy weapons and for beams and cannons, etc., but is not persistent for torpedoes by design, or if this is just an accident somewhere within the formula that just needs to be fixed. I would like to find out that information.
It sounds like an accident.
I feel optimistic about it that it's a mistake, an overlook.
Yeah, it sounds like an accident to me.
It just can't be intentional.
I have permission to put out the spreadsheet, so once I have that cleaned out, I'll put out the spreadsheet with the formulas, and everybody can look at it. Vel, if you're listening out there, this is based off of some of your work that you've done beforehand. Well, actually, it's kind of parallel work between you and Tom, but you both derive all very similarly looking formulas coming at it from different directions. So, in essence, Vel, you should know this one once you see it. And other than that, I believe that is everything we have tonight for the show. Thank everybody here for listening and watching and chatting with us here. We're going to move to a newer format. Yes, thank you, everybody out there. Thank you, Thomas and Zeronius, for actually talking with us and having some fun. You know, this thing called fun. Wow.
Fun's important. I say that a lot.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. And from a Chiefs, you know what? How about this? Everybody around here, we say thank you to the community. Chief Logistics Officer, Captain Timberwolf. Chief Grumpy Intelligence Officer, Captain Sarcasm Detector. Yes. Our Chief Science Officer, Captain Snipey 47 Alpha. Chief of Cheesy Tactics, Captain SO. AP Torp is not a real torpedo, SOB.
Yes,
Our Chief Ironic Medic, who will actually teach people how to DPS and heal at the same time, Captain MK. Computer, please deactivate the emergency RP hologram. And I am just another guy who's playing around in the game. See you guys out there.
Thanks, everyone.